Show today. I have the president and the founder of Living While Driving Black, Mr. David Lowery Jr. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Queen, for having me on your show.
And thank you for taking our time.
Oh, no doubt. Anytime it's an opportunity to talk to our people, I want to be available for that.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this title. You're the president and the founder. And this title, Living and Driving While Black.
Well, first of all, let me give all praises to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for making it possible for me to be here today. Living and driving while black. Living conditions and driving conditions are the worst for black people on the face of this planet. We started this foundation surrounding racial profiling. I had an opportunity to work for Reverend Al Sharpton as a National Crisis Director, and we had some cases that came up on the New Jersey Turnpike where black motorists were being pulled over in record numbers by the state troopers. I was sent to investigate the matter, and once I got all the numbers through the FOIA request, then we started to get people who was actually affected by the racial profiling, and we started assisting them by filing lawsuits. So after I left the New York area and came back to the Chicago area, I just thought that all the things that's happening here in Chicago surrounding racial profiling, and nobody was saying anything about it. So we started to do FOIA requests on different cities, different municipalities, and we started to get the numbers, and what we found was that it was it's really a crime of how black people are being stopped and pulled over just because of the color of their skin. So we started to file lawsuits for racial profiling, the numbers. We started to look at different ordinances that cities had, like Rock Island ordinance had a music ordinance where they would pull over a person and say that his music was loud over 75 feet. And it really was a tool to racial profile black people. In a county where it's 94% white, and you had 3% black and 1% other, or 2% other, but you had over 90-some percent out of that 2% of black people being stopped and pulled over, and their cars were being taken.
So is this what actually made you focus and get started?
Well, I was a victim of a racial profiling stop in 1996. I grew up here in Chicago, but I left, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I left and went to Iowa in 1974. Bought a business, stayed there, raised my children. And in 1996, I was at a business meeting in Iowa City, Iowa, and I came back to my restaurant to meet with some people from John Deere. And I dropped one of my employees off from my business, and I was pulled over by a white officer. Even though I had a suit and tie on as a businessman, I think the jealousy of a black man driving a Lexus caused him to pull me over, ask a lot of questions, and then in the end accused me and a drug dealer and actually taking me to the police station and arresting me with no evidence of me being a drug dealer or anything.
And what was the outcome?
The outcome was when the guy found out who I was, my brother-in-law was a sergeant at the police station. When they found out who I was, and they decided to drop the charges. But for me, it wasn't that simple, because had I not been who I was, then I thought about all the other black men and women who were being pulled over for no good reason, just because of the color of their skin or a vehicle that they might like to drive that would make officers who are jealous, especially white officers, to pull us over to see if we actually can afford the vehicle or if we're drug dealers. So that got personal to me, and that's when I got involved with the NAACP to make that change happen.
Okay. So now, right at this moment, because I have been kind of keeping up with you, and I know you have quite a bit. You can almost kind of get dizzy every time you look up. You got a little bit, you got your hands in a little bit of something. But one of your main things that I was looking at was the incident that happened in Calumet City. Now,
That was,
and I know I'm kind of jumping the gun because we were talking about the driving part. Let's go back to talking a little bit more about the organization, because he also
okay. The organization itself, like I said, we started doing racial profiling. But after the word got out about us actually working, people started calling us with all kinds of complaints. They started calling us with police brutality complaints, employment discrimination complaints, you name it, they was calling. So I sat down with my team and said, why don't we change the name to Living and Driving While Black? And that opened the door for us to be able to deal with not only driving conditions and issues, but living conditions as well. So we got incorporated here in the state of Illinois in 2005, and since we've done that, it has just continued to be cases that have come through the door because of the work that we do. A lot of people have gravitated toward us to ask for our assistance, and that's what we're doing. We're providing resources. We have a...
Have you all accomplished a lot of the... I mean, I'm asking because it's, you know, it's been quiet for so long when it comes to a racial thing. You know, you just kind of try to look over it, at least a lot of us do, and hope that that's not really going on when in all actuality it is.
Well, to me, and I say this to our people all the time, and black people, I want y'all to understand one thing. The only reason why we're in these conditions today is because we've allowed our conditions to change us so that we became acceptable to what's happening to us. With our foundation at Living and Driving While Black, we try to open people's mind about what's going on around them. Say, for instance, if you came to us with a complaint, we would teach you how to deal with that complaint. We would teach you how to write the complaint up, create a timeline. So our ideology of it is, if you change the way a person think, then they can do better. Perfect example is, anything that you don't know about, you're not able to achieve the fullness of it until you get the instructions on how to do it. And so that's what this Living and Driving While Black Foundation is doing.
Okay.
You know, we're people that come to us, they look for help, they look for leadership. We teach them how to fish instead of just give them a fish for a day and they eat for that day. But once you know, you can eat forever if you know how to fish. So that's our philosophy. You know, when you know better, you do better. And that's what we've been doing with our reentry programs, our life skills training programs, our financial programs. We have different training programs like legal and constitutional rights, which we're about to have one of those. And I want to let people know that if you know your legal rights, if you know your constitutional rights, when you're pulled over and you're stopped by police or a person of authority, you'll be able to let them know your full rights. And a lot of times they'll back up off of you because they'll understand that this is somebody who knows the law and somebody that can help them protect the law. And so that gives that police officer or person of authority a different look about you to say, you know, well, you know what, let's take our time, let's sit down and talk about this thing, because the fear of a knowledgeable person is more dangerous than a gun and a bullet.
Okay, so now, right now, like I said, I was bringing it up earlier. I want to get a little bit on the incident that happened in Calumet City, and what part are you actually playing in the pursuit of the police officers there?
Well, February 1st, it was 2012. I got a call from Mr. Steve Watts regarding his son, Stefan. He had been gunned down in his own home. And mind you, folks, this is Autism Awareness Month here. And so when I went and met with Mr. Watts, he told me about what happened. Excuse me. And at the time, let me give you a background about it. Stefan was an autistic young man who was a computer genius. They were trying to get him help, but the doctors and the nurses said they needed a track record of his outburst. So the family not really understanding the full dynamics, and that's why I say black people, we need to get more educated about autism and other things, health issues that we have. The family not being totally aware of a process to get him help, did what they told him was to call 311 when Stefan, sometime his social skills, he has Asperger's, autism, and sometimes his skills to communicate socially was a little bit offstandish, where if he didn't really know you, he wouldn't deal with you.
Right,
and that sometimes,
they
have those rages,
right.
Or if you raise your voice at them, they'll get, into a stage of where either they're not intimidated or they raise their voice back. And so this child and his father, February 1st, 2012, like he normally do, he was in the basement, working on computers. And his father told him it was time to go to school. He didn't want to go because he wanted to finish working on the computer. And to make a long story short, the father, like so many other times, called 311. They sent 2 Calumet City police officers to the home, which they knew the child. The father had already told the police officers when they arrived that everything was okay and that Stefan was all right. The officers did not want to hear that. They had been there previously, December 10th, and tased this young man. And so they came back, I think, with the attitude to put an end to a problem that they were having because they was tired of coming out. And so the officers, 2 officers, approached the top of the stairs. Stefan was at the bottom of the stairs. He had a butter knife in his hand, opening a closet door without a knob. You know how black folks is sometimes. You don't have a knob on the doors. You got to open it up,
with
right?
The knob,
he had a butter knife, and just as soon as the officer saw him, the autistic child in his own home with a butter knife in his hand, one of the officers said, "Knife." He pulled his weapon and shot that child in his head. Then the other officer pulled his weapon and shot him in his body as well, and killed him in his home. So when they called us, I was the president of the NAACP South Suburban branch at the time, and I came out, I looked at the crime scene, that's what we call it. I did an investigation.
Oh, so do they actually let you all step in, or you mean after everything was?
Well, no, I mean, if they call us from the very beginning, if folks call us, like with the foundation, Living and Driving My Black Devil situation, any kind of shooting, they call us right away. We get involved. We sit down with the family. We do crisis intervention. We usually deal with the issue.
That's a blessing.
We take the family out of the way, and we say, okay, we're going to be your mouthpiece. And then we represent the family and let the family deal with the grief and not having to make quick decisions on what they need to do next. And so that's what this foundation does when we have a situation like that. And so when I got with the Watts family, that was my intentions. But, it's like a circus. A shooting like that, it's going to bring, the top flight, supposedly the old civil rights leaders. You're talking Jesse and Al and all those guys. And when the Dog and Pony show over, and I committed to the Watts family. I told them that I would be there with them all the way to the end, no matter what happened, that we would get justice in this matter. And after Jesse and everybody else came and made all the noise and the hoopla, when they left, I stayed there with the family. I've continued to build coalitions with other people who've been the victim of gun violence. We're currently about to set up a group where the families can come, a counseling group through the Living and Driving My Black Foundation for different families like Percy Coleman, Philip Coleman, who was shot and who was killed by Chicago police officers, Hadia Pendleton. I spoke to that family. So we want to put these families together and create some type of law. That's what we do too. We write laws, and so that we can start to work together to really help our communities come out of this situation.
So in the case, in Stefan's case, I mean, how do you go about that? Because even if you have the police investigate the police, so how do you get above that?
Well, what we're doing currently in the Watts case is that We've gotten the case now. We've just got the case maybe about 2 months ago. It went through a couple of lawyers, but the family didn't get the results they were looking for. And they.
When you say they went through a couple of lawyers, meaning the lawyers didn't want to take the case?
Well, Jim Montgomery, one of the attorneys, I've worked with him in the past when Johnny Cochran was living. And Jim, was his first initial lawyer to get the case. But in order to bring the Justice Department in, for organizations like ours, we need information to send to them, to their Civil Rights Division, so that we can bring them in just like they did with the Trayvon Martin case. And so Jim did not want to cooperate with the NAACP or Living and Driving While Black to give us information to bring the Justice Department in to investigate the police who have policed themselves. And so that's how you bring an outside entity in to examine these things. So now that we have the information, we're preparing a complaint to send to the Civil Rights Division. We're asking them to come down and open an investigation into Calumet City regarding the murder of Stephon Watts. The Living and Driving While Black Foundation, in turn, will now send a FOIA request to Calumet City. Now we want to get all their numbers about hiring, racial profiling, how many more murders have you committed now? You know what I'm saying? We want to get all those numbers so that we can back up the family with another lawsuit.
Now, will the same somewhat procedures go for Percy? Philip Coleman?
Pretty much the same. I'm meeting with Mr. Coleman, and I think he's coming toward our way as far as getting an attorney. And we'll use the same process. The process that we use, it really it puts the municipalities in a position that they have to answer. See, a lot of people don't understand that it's powerful when you create a FOIA request when something happens. Once you put all these detailed items of what you want in there, the door is open. Now they have to respond in writing. If they don't respond in writing, which they don't have to, then that's when that gives you a clear path to use an attorney to file a lawsuit and then go in and demand and subpoena all the records. So what we're doing now is basically shining the light on a lot of entities that have in the past practiced of police brutality, unfair hiring practices. They've continued to use racial profiling techniques. They've continued to change different ordinances that only affect black people. And we don't know about it until we're in court about it.
All right, well, give us a contact information while I'm thinking about it, because we got to keep, because you're telling me a lot of stuff.
And there's so much. Our contact information, you can go to our website. That's www.livingdrivingwhileblack.net. Our phone number is 773-998-1207. You can call us, leave a message, go to our website, and check us out, and
actually see everything that
see everything that we're doing. We try to post up
because it definitely may be of some help to the other viewers that's actually watching today. We're gonna go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to finish speaking with Mr. Lowery. And we're going to actually I want to talk a little bit about your radio show as well, because you can also call in on Thursdays.
That's right.
And get some of those questions you want. We'll be right back.
People, may I have your attention? There's a hot new author among us, and his name is William.
And we tell the truth about it. Whether it's, if it hurt us or not, we still tell the truth because people need to know the truth.
I like that. I like that. Now, I want to ask you, what is your biggest what is the biggest thing that you're working with right now? Because like I say, he has so much going on. You'll get dizzy trying.
Currently, what the Living and Driving While Black Foundation has done is that we started filing discrimination lawsuits in the south suburbs. I had a lot of complaints from employment discrimination with some of the school boards, like in Oak Forest, District 145, Arbor Park. That was a black lady who'd been there 6 years volunteered 4 years. They never would give her a permanent position. And then the superintendent told her after about the 6th year, now, we'll work you, but we ain't gonna pay you. And so the lady says, well, what about me as a permanent position? They pretty much told her, you need to go back in the black community and get your job over there. And so when she came to us and explained it to me, and right away, you know me, I'm like, you know what? Let's just get all the information, turn it over to the lawyer, and we sued them 2 weeks ago. We look to get them in circuit court to deal with that issue.
Is something in Oak Lawn as well?
It's one in Evergreen Park. I'm going to get to Evergreen Park in a second.
Oh, wow.
Also, a week after that, we sued Park Forest, Illinois. Same type of situation. A black female had a business. They took all her ideas, gave it to a white female, did not let the black female get the license, hurried up and gave the license to the white female, honored her as a city entity and all of that, and the black lady lost all her money and almost went bankrupt. And so she came to us. I met with the city. We had a big roundtable discussion. Once I heard what they had to say and I knew all the facts, I told them, listen to this. In about 3 weeks, I'm going to sue you for millions of dollars. And so they thought I was playing. And so a week or so ago, I sued them for millions of dollars. The third lawsuit that we filed was one that we had in circuit court that we asked a federal judge to take and move it to federal court because it's a corruption case against the city of Chicago. It's against the Chicago Housing Authority. It's against the Sheriff Department. It's against judges who have conspired to discriminate and commit fraud through the court system as well as through the Chicago Housing Authority. So we filed that lawsuit to move it out of district court into federal court last week. And we filed that motion to have it transferred. Once we have that transferred, then our lawyers is going to come in and we're going to attack the city of Chicago because the facts are just horrendous about this fraud and conspiracy that a lot of people is going to go down with this.
And they do a lot of that has to do with jobs.
It has to do with just about everything. You know, the court system is rigged to when black people come in there. If you can have the same crime as a Caucasian person, you're going to end up getting some time. Your fines are going to be more than usual. So we started doing court watches. I have people going into the courtrooms just listening and looking how they're dispatching out unequal justice to black people. So we're starting to get all our information and get with the feds. The Justice Department works with this foundation, and we send our complaints to them, and then they come in with us, and then we start suing, and we start getting indictments for people that are doing wrong. The biggest lawsuit right now, and we're looking for people to step up to the plate and join in on this lawsuit. About 10 years ago, I filed a lawsuit against Evergreen Park, Illinois for racial profiling. I was stopped, pulled over, and treated as if I was a criminal. I was on WVON talking about it, and a lady who had 2 sons at the time in Evergreen Park, they had no black police officers at the time. They had got pulled over about 30 times. And so when we got involved with this case, we got video footage. To make a long story short, we sued them for like $21 million. But we went to the table with them, and we sat down, and we asked them to come in compliance. Our position is not just to sue you, but it's to bring you